And now, brought to you by no one in particular, it's the Laspegacast, with your host, Okami the Wolf 1. Hello and welcome every pony, I'm your host, Okami the Wolf 1, and here we are with another episode of the Laspegacast. Episode, I don't even know, I guess this is like episode 8, yeah. And today is our review of Magic Duel, the newest episode of My Little Pony, and let me tell you, it was amazing. I mean, it was just, alright, I gotta do news first, because, this show has got some sort of order to it, or at least I'm trying to get some sort of order to it. So, first, I'm your host, Okami the Wolf 1, and you're listening to the Laspegacast. Now, you might have just heard our brand new opening, which I made last week. I'm pretty proud of it, because I made it sound like a radio, and you're kind of tuning back and forth, trying to find something, and so you hear a little bit of, I believe the first tune is the ending theme from Dirty Pear, one of my favorite animes, and then the Starlight Zone music from Sonic the Hedgehog 1, and then it gets on to the opening to the Laspegacast. And I tried to do like an old radio announcer and stuff, which came out okay. So that's our new opening for the show for now, at least. Again, I'm still looking for cast members. If you'd like to be on this show, being a co-host or anything, then simply send us a mail at laspegacast@gmail.com. Because it's a lot easier to do a podcast like this with at least one other person to bounce opinions off of, and it will make it much, much better. Now, I guess the first thing we should do is news. Let's see, news today, I'm looking through Derpy Hooves News and Equestria Daily. Of course, we had the newest episode, and we have the, apart from the newest episode and all the artwork and remixes from the last episode, within 3 days, we had 15 remixes of the song Bab Seed from the last episode, which is amazing. You guys work really fast, and it was really, really, the remixes were really good. We even got an Archie remix. That was great. I can't believe he did it so fast. We also have synopses for the next few episodes. Also, I suppose I should warn you, we will also today be, along with discussing the episode, we will be discussing predictions for the rest of Season 3. I kind of want to do this, kind of predict and change it and see how close I get and stuff, so it might be a little spoilerish, not by much. I'm just basically reading the episode synopsis and going from there. I don't watch previews, and I don't view spoiler art. There was a lot of tricksy spoiler art during the last few days, which I avoided 95%. I saw like one. So, Season 3, of course, we have the next few episodes. Episodes 6 through 10 are listed, kind of. Which, yeah, there's not much that I know of for news. I can't seem to find anything. I'm not really that good at telling the news. So let's move on to the episode part. We just had Magic Duel, and now episode 6 next week is Sleepless in Ponyville. Synopsis, version 1. Scootaloo begins to have nightmares after hearing frightful campfire stories. The extended synopsis says, over a campfire, Rainbow Dash decides to share some imaginative and spooky tales, causing Scootaloo to have frightening, vivid nightmares. Scootaloo wants to get rid of her nightmares, but doesn't want the others to think she is spineless. Now this sounds really good. We're finally getting a Scootaloo exclusive episode, and hopefully it will completely focus on her. The only thing I'm really worried about is something like someone stealing her thunder, like coming in and the episode ends up being more remembered for someone else than for her. Again, this seems to be a one-off slice of life episode, not related in any way to any underlying plot, which I thought we were going to have this season, but we're already like almost halfway through, and we haven't gotten any of that. So this looks to be very interesting. Episode 7, Wonderbolt Academy. Air date December 15th. Rainbow Dash can't believe her luck when she gets an exclusive invitation to enroll at the Wonderbolt Academy, but soon she is wondering whether she's really cut out for school and whether someone else would be a better fit. Now, Rainbow Dash has always wanted to be with the Wonderbolts. It's her life dream. I don't really see her giving up the first chance she gets, or any chance, I should say, to join the Wonderbolts. And going to Wonderbolt Academy is basically saying that she's eligible for Wonderbolt material. Now, I wonder if it'll be like, because you see her flying like with another pony, if she thinks like that pony is better and has a better chance and she wants to be generous and give up her spot, or she feels like she needs more practice. Although it is an academy, so, she would learn more, and it would help her more than her just practicing on her own. So I really want to see her end up at Wonderbolt Academy, although this brings up the question whether we'll see her less, because she'd be, at school now. Again, I wonder if it would advance the plot of the series too much. Like, I'd expect her to like make the Wonderbolt Academy and become a Wonderbolt by the final season, but we're in season 3 and she's already well on her way to becoming a Wonderbolt. Although Wonderbolt Academy could be pretty long. I mean, she might have to be there for years. So we'll see what this brings. Now, oddly enough, episode 9 has yet to be announced. But episode 8 has yet to be announced. But episode 9 has been announced as following 7 days after episode 7. So either episode 9 is actually episode 8, or the dates are wrong. I'm not sure. We don't know what episode 8 is. Episode 9 is Apple Family Reunion. Synopsis, small one. Granny Smith agrees to let Applejack lead the Apple Family Reunion, but Applejack loses sight of what is truly important. So it looks like Applejack is finally going to learn a lesson of some sorts, instead of drink cider, learn nothing. And it would be great if she got a song in this episode, because she's never had a solo song. So this will bring Applejack back from that terrible background pony joke that ran through part of the season 2 and into the ponyless summer. And I really hope, this really reaffirms her place as one of the main 6, and you get more of her. We did see her in episode 4, One Bad Apple. She was the only main 6 that had any lines, but it was still a Cutie Mark Crusader episode. And then episode 10, Spike at Your Service. Basically, this is another Spike episode. We don't know anything about it, and it's set to air a week after episode 9. Now, we have yet to get, of course, episode 8, 11, 12, or 13. Now, there's some predictions, because I've listened to others talk about this, and it's a good, it's an interesting theory. These episodes might all have to do with the, backstory. From episode 1, we got, some interesting little hints. We saw Luna with the book, and we know they're preparing her for her next level of study. And there have been rumors of Twilight becoming an alicorn, which I still don't see happening this season, but yeah, you don't know. Now, episode 8 might have stuff to do with that. So they're keeping it heavy under wraps, as opposed to the other episodes, which are all basically one-off episodes that you could pretty much watch out of order for the most part, and not have it affect anything. So I wonder if episode 8 could be more into this. There have been other people who have thought that possibly the season would end on a 3-parter because of we have yet to see. They have yet to announce anything or even list episodes 11, 12, and 13. Now, I don't really see that happening because that cuts the season down to what is basically 10 episodes. Because episode 1 and 2 are basically one episode, and if episode 11, 12, and 13 was all together, then that's basically a total of 10 episodes. That's really short for a season. So I don't see that happening as much. I do see a 2-parter for the finale, which would be interesting. It could be that just, 11, 12, and 13 are just so far in the future that we just don't know. Because we got the episode names for up through 10 before the season even started. So we got it 3 months in advance, basically. But I don't... My predictions is that episode 8 will deal with this backstory, with all the hints that were dropped in this season premiere. And possibly episodes 12 and 13 will be a 2-parter that wraps that up, or maybe leaves it slightly hanging for the next season. Episode 11 I could see being another, one-off episode. Let's see. Half of 13 is 6.5, okay. So 8 is kind of midway in the season. I can see why they would only put one episode leading up to it. Now, in Season 1, we got all the little things that worked into the Grand Galloping Gala. We got Episode 2, Episode 3, The Ticketmaster, and Episode... I forget which one. Halfway through, I can never remember the correct names. The one where they make the dress, Art of the Dress, I think. And they talked about the Grand Galloping Gala, and the season finale, even though it was a 1-parter, it was still good, the Grand Galloping Gala. So it all led up to it. Season 2 got nothing like that at all. They were all one-off episodes. It would have been nice if there had even been a reference made to Shining Armor or Twilight's brother just once. Would have made it so much better, just in passing. But it looks like I'm going to say that episode 8 deals with this, all these possible things that we predict, because it is halfway through, and then episode 8, and then 11 and 12 will probably be a 2-parter. Now, these are just my predictions, although I try to make educated guesses and listen to everyone else's opinion to go off of that. So, these are basically my predictions for the final, for this season at least. And there are rumors of another season, by the way, through some writing, in some Hasbro paperwork. It looks like they've confirmed a season 4, or there will be a season 4. No one's confirmed it, but looks like there will be, which would be great. Hopefully it'll be back to 26 episodes. I'm hoping that, I have this theory. Now, if you watched, another cartoon I watched before this was Total Drama, and I watched the entire Total Drama series. Seasons 1, 2, and 3 were all 26 episodes, but Season 4 they experimented with a whole new cast, so they put it down to 13 episodes. And then Season 5, I believe, which hasn't aired yet, is back up to 26, I think. So I'm wondering if they're doing something similar with this season. They did 2 seasons of 26 episodes, and then they did another season of 13 episodes, but they're experimenting a little. And it's better to experiment like this with a small number of episodes than with a full season. So hopefully they'll go back to 26 episodes after this, which would be great. If we got at least one more season of 26 episodes, I would be happy with that. That would bring our total to 75, 78, 91 episodes, I believe. Yeah, 91 episodes, which is really good for a cartoon. I know there are a lot of cartoons with more, but that would be great. So, sorry, I do not have much news today. Why don't we check the mailbox, and I shall open up the Laspegacast Gmail account, and we have loading. No mail. Again. Really, people? Anything? I know I've gotten a lot of, I get a good amount of views on this podcast. If you want to ask anything, predictions, questions, anything at all, including if you want to be on this podcast, send it to laspegacast@gmail.com. So, on Equestria Daily, they have a poll. Did your opinion of Trixie change after the episode? There were 5 answers you could choose. Yes, I dislike Trixie even more. Yes, Trixie is best pony. No, this episode didn't have any effect on my Trixie level. Yes, Trixie is higher than she was on my pony list. And other. Now, I voted every time I log in, it resets the thing for me so I can vote as much as I want. So I vote for yes, Trixie is higher than she was on my pony list, which she is. They added a lot of character for her this episode, and that is holding a solid 50% at 4,500 votes. Second with no, this episode didn't have any effect on my Trixie level at 26%. And then 9% at yes, Trixie is best pony, 7% is yes, I dislike Trixie even more, and 6% at other. For a total of 9,000 votes. Not bad. Now, we shall, I guess at this point, I can just get on to, discussing the episode. Now, the episode was, of course, awesome. I started to watch it in Brony State Stream. Fortunately, it was not hacked this time. However, there was such lag that I had to switch over to another stream. So I wasn't in it for a while. But I did get to, I saw the whole episode and I have it, and so I shall play the episode and comment on it as I watch it, basically. So I shall just take a moment here to pause this and cue it up, and we shall talk about and discuss My Little Pony Season 3, Episode 5, Magic Duel. So, it starts, and it's all raining, and a mysterious figure is running through an interesting city. Now, we don't know what this city is. If I were to guess from, architecture, it could be Trottingham. That's my best guess. And we already know it's Trixie, and she's rooting around a magic shop. And so there's a new pony comes out from the back room. At least we get another background pony now, the shopkeeper. And she wants this amazing alicorn amulet, which is quite interesting. Which, first of all, this means that the word alicorn is now canon, because up until now, they had never said the name alicorn in the show. So, alicorn is now canon. And so, of course, standard shopkeeper, he says how powerful it is, but no, it's too powerful for her. And he acts all mysterious and stuff. And then she throws a whole lot of money on the table, and he asks, do you want that gift wrapped? So, working off a standard, kind of black market cliche, or where they go to the shop. Oh no, I could never sell that. Well, maybe I could sell that. So we get back into the opening, and I shall skip through that. And so now Fluttershy had a big part in this. The first scene after, we get actually better views of Fluttershy's yard, which is like a menagerie, because there just seems to be more. You can see her chicken coop and everything, and it just seems like she's got a lot more pets. And so Twilight has to use magic on her, and she's like, if anything happens to them. And so Spike's like, oh, she's gotten a lot better since he rolled me and AJ up with a snowball. And of course, this goes along with like a lot of fandom, fan fiction and comics. Are Twilight experimenting on her friends with these advanced spells and usually messing up in some way. So it's kind of interesting. And so Fluttershy gets all nervous and her wings shoot out and she's all sweating and shaking, and you can see a lot more detail. Like, they wouldn't have made her all shaky and stuff in the last season. And so she's like, no, they're all scared, but all the animals are happy. So she puts them all into a loop-de-loop, and they fly through the air, and Fluttershy is biting her nails, so we know that ponies have nails now. And Twilight, you can see she's using her magic, and she's sweating and stuff from straining, but it doesn't seem that bad a strain as like when she did the defeated the Ursa Major, or Ursa Minor, I should say, in the last episode, last Trixie episode. So she's excited, and we get another interesting thing here. She mentions that Princess Celestia is returning from Saddle Arabia, which now we have the name. I believe fans have used this name before, the name Saddle Arabia, but now it's canon that there is another nation and it's Arabian. It's pretty cool, actually. So she'll be returning with delegates from Saddle Arabia, and Twilight is in charge of the entertainment. So apparently they're going to entertain them in Ponyville. So Rainbow Dash comes in and says that there's trouble in town. And suddenly we zoom back in on town, and there's Rarity, and she gets blasted with deep red magic. And she gets this terrible outfit, and she's like, oh, these browns are only supposed to be used with to accentuate. And she faints and stuff. And so it's I'm looking for Derpy, I don't see her yet. So it's Trixie, and she's returned, and she's all mysterious, wearing a black cloak and hood, and she's got the amulet around her neck, and now her magic is all red and evil. Now, I really thought that this was going to be different. Actually, you know what? I'm going to play. I recorded before the episode a 2-minute prediction of what my thoughts on this episode were. So I will actually put that in here, and this is a recording of me a few days ago. And we'll see how far off my predictions were. So I shall just, let's see, where's the play button? I'll hit play, and now. Hey everybody, this is Okami the Wolf here, just about a half hour before the episode, and I just wanted to record my quick predictions for this episode. Now, we already know the synopsis that Trixie comes back to town, defeats Twilight Sparkle in a magic duel, and banishes her from town. Now, it seems almost unlikely that Twilight could get banished from Ponyville, which makes me wonder a few things. Also, I saw it seems some spoilerish pictures has Trixie with an orangish magic glow around her instead of her pale blue. So I have two predictions here. First is that Trixie defeats Twilight, and Twilight ends up banishing herself because she thinks she's, like, not strong enough, and not good enough to be the student of Princess Celestia, and leaves Ponyville of her own accord, or Trixie manages to brainwash the entire town, and that's how Twilight gets banished. Also, I think she could be, like, possessed by some evil magic, possibly King Sombra, because of the color of the aura of the one spoiler picture I saw. So, that's my prediction. I also believe this will delve more into the backstory of this season. So, yep, that's my quick 2-minute predictions. And now back to your regularly scheduled broadcast. Well, so I'm sure you gathered from that I was, well, way off. Well, my predictions were wrong. Actually, a lot of people thought that because she had that reddish glow around her, that because it matched King Sombra's reddish glow, that she would be possessed. Now, I thought this would be really interesting to make her possessed, but she wasn't. She was, although the magic did corrupt her, so she wasn't entirely herself. But it was no way related to anything else. Unless, the introduction of the Saddle Arabia horses is something. But, so my predictions were completely off as to why Twilight was banished from town. I didn't think of the being forcefully evicted, which, in retrospect, it seems like that should have crossed my mind, but it didn't. So, yeah, my predictions were off, but that was, interesting and fun to predict to see what I could do. So, then, getting back to the episode, now that I know I'm completely wrong, so now Trixie is, like, bullying everybody, and she's, like, zapping everyone so that they're, like, changed, or Snips and Snails, she welds their horns together, and Rainbow Dash, she expands one of her wings. And this is where Trixie's acting a bit weird, because Snips and Snails were giving her adoration, and usually she just bathes in it. Instead, she just tells them to shut up and zaps them. And so now she challenges Twilight to a magic duel to prove who is the strongest magician ever. And Trixie has got that orange glow. And so she turns Spike into, or rolls Spike into a ball and plays basketball. And she just is going to keep doing this until she challenges her. And I notice in some shots her eyes are actually colored red, and not just the glow. So she goes on and shows that she was laughed out of every town she went to, and now her wagon was all spray painted. So this covers, like, I've noticed a few fan fictions are like, well, now she's homeless because her wagon was destroyed. Well, guess what? She got a new one after that, so that ruins any of those fan fictions and all that fandomness. And because in one scene in one of her flashbacks, you see her wagon all covered in spray paint, which also means that spray paint is now canon too, and graffiti. And she says she had to work on a rock farm. It's, of course, Pinky's rock farm. And at this point, she uses her magic to remove Pinky's snout. So now Pinky doesn't have a mouth. And her magic is in the shape of a red arrow, and she puts it in a trash can. Like, I think it's based on the Mac icon for the trash. I'm not sure, I don't have a Mac, but, similar to a Windows or Mac recycling bin. And so she zaps everything. She turns Twilight's library upside down, and she's just going to keep on doing it. and like everything's all sad. Applejack is comforting Rarity, who's covered in a blanket because she looks terrible in that outfit, and she's like traumatized. And so Trixie fixes everything except for Pinky's mouth. So we don't get Pinky talk at all in this episode, except for a bunch of humming through her nose. So she challenges her to a duel. Loser leaves town forever. And then the tension builds. And she says draw, so it's like an old-style Western. And the animation is really, really good. So she throws an apple cart, and Twilight catches it and sets it down without breaking anything. And then pies, 6 of them, like a 6-shooter. Twilight brings out a Power Sprite and to eat them, and the Power Sprite multiplies. She's slightly she's like, oh, they start to multiply. She zaps them away, and then Trixie drops snow on her, which she melts. And then Twilight blasts her Trixie, and she gets a mustache, a huge mustache. These guys at DHX really like their mustaches because I think in the previews you see Pinky putting on a mustache disguise. And we had Spike with the mustaches, and so everyone likes mustaches. Then Trixie uses an age spell on Snips and Snails, turning one into a baby and one into an old man, or an old stallion. And Twilight's amazed because only the most advanced unicorns can use an age spell, which now age spells are canon too. And so Twilight tries her best, and she puts out a lot of magic, but cannot replicate the age spell and fails. And so now she's banished from town. Of course, her friends won't let her leave. But oh yeah, and we get some evil cackling too. That's good. So you see just how evil she's becoming. And yeah, and we get more. She yells towards the screen, kind of like Fluttershy did at the Grand Galloping Gala. It's pretty good. So she throws Twilight out of town, literally, and puts up a huge force field, which is more like a big upside-down glass fishbowl than, like, magical, sparkly force field like Shining Armors. And so now she's got to figure out exactly what to do. Now, the animation is really good, and the writing has been awesome. And so it cuts to commercial. Then Twilight tries an age spell on just a flower. She gets it a little, but it fails. And she can't even do it on a flower, much less an actual pony. So without anyone to turn to, she goes to see Zecora because she can't reach Celestia because Celestia is in Saddle Arabia. So, of course, in a slight anime cliche, Zecora decides she will teach Twilight all she knows. And we see that Zecora can do magic too, which is interesting because she's not a unicorn, she's a zebra. So I guess she really is an enchantress. Just not an evil enchantress. And we see a lot of, like, Trixie banners and stuff, because now Trixie is turning Ponyville into Trixieville, basically. And so she's got all these banners with her likeness on them. And she threatens Applejack with feathers, tickling her, and, treating everyone pretty badly. And more glowing eyes, and she has Pinky dance, but they reuse some of the animation. And Rarity sewing. Although it disturbed me slightly at this point because Rarity pricks her finger as she's sewing, or pricks her hoof while she's sewing. And I didn't get much if you saw the Tumblr Little Miss Rarity, which is taken down, but I saw some of it on YouTube, it's quite disturbing. But in, like, the second panel, she does that, and I keep flashing back to that, sadly. I wish I hadn't watched that. that YouTube video. So I keep flashing back to Little Miss Rarity. So it's not fun. I'd prefer to forget that one. So we get more back to Twilight. She's studying with Zecora, being all mystic and clear your mind, and she's levitating 3 balls of water around her while staying on the surface of a small pond. But she keeps thinking of Trixie, and of course she fails and falls into the water. And so yeah, the whole like going to someone who knows about fighting or magic or whatever, and they offer to teach you. You know, it's a slight anime cliche because you see that a lot. Like someone's in trouble and someone who knows a lot decides they will teach them. And so Twilight knows that something was off, but she doesn't know what, and Zecora just wants Twilight to focus. So we get back to Ponyville, which is covered in Trixie's flags and new Trixie statues, and the wind is howling, and it's really dark and foreboding, and everyone's locked themselves in the library trying to find a book that'll say anything on the type of magic that she used. Fluttershy finds a book, and nobody's listening to her, and they're going on, and she finally, Spike grabs the book and announces it to everyone, and they read through, and it turns out that only Trixie can remove the powerful Alicorn amulet. And so they have to figure out a plan to get her, to get to Twilight and tell her. And here comes some of the best Fluttershy in this episode, because Fluttershy got some really good parts. Rainbow Dash decides she knows just the mare for the job. Fluttershy's like, what? And she like screams and kind of falls out of the sky, because she's just hovering. Oddly enough, she's hovering throughout most of this scene, which she doesn't usually do that. And she's like all startled and like, no, she can't do it. Yeah, she keeps falling and cowering and shivering, and she's all like scared and hides under a book. And this was one of her great scenes. She had some great looks on her face. She keeps falling out of the sky. She finally decides to do it. Yeah, this was some of Fluttershy's best moments here. And then Rarity, of course, decides she knows just how to make the outfit. And they zoom out, and you see that Trixie has created all the clouds and stuff right inside that force field. And she has Snips and Snails drag her chariot around, but the great and powerful Trixie doesn't trust wheels, so they have to pull a wheelless carriage around. So the force field, they've set it so that some of Fluttershy's beaver friends are trying to get through with a hollow log, and Fluttershy is actually hiding in the log. And when she gets through, her bird friends, because apparently now she can talk to the birds, you know, like, oh, what's that, Timmy? Lassie fell down the well. What's that, Lassie? Timmy fell down the well, you know, like that. Like, and her outfit is interesting, though. But, so, when she finds out that they're at the Everfree Forest, she doesn't want to go. She wants to go and hide in her closet. And so the birds carry her away. And she's wearing kind of a black outfit with a hood and blue boots and blue bunny ears tied to it and a blue utility belt. And she makes it to Zecora's and Twilight realizes finds out about the amulet. And so Zecora talks in rhyme. She says you have to gather the 6. And so Twilight thinks about that. And we think, oh no, they're just going to use the elements of harmony again and overpower her and stuff. And it's like, you know, their regular fallback. Fortunately, that's not the case. And Twilight suddenly becomes brilliant, fortunately, and it looks really cool. And she gets a really awesome plan, she decides. We don't know what it is yet. And so the next day, or later that day, I'm not sure, Trixie goes back to check the force field again because there's more activity, and it's Zecora and Twilight. And Twilight has a brand new amulet that's super powerful, from beyond the Everfree Forest. And this is the expressions and the way they talk throughout this scene between Trixie and Twilight. It's one of the better dialogue scenes, I think. And Trixie has some great facial expressions here. So I think this is their best scene together, as far as dialogue and expressions and whatnot. You really do have to see it, but it's pretty good. Of course, they're conning her the whole time. Twilight tricking Trixie. So Trixie agrees to another duel. And of course, they decide to start out with an age spell. And so she changes Snips and Snails into babies again. And Twilight asks for Applejack and Rarity. And she turns, and they're like, what? And so she turns them into little foals. And another great expression by Trixie. And then she switches them, and they're back to normal. And then Twilight just keeps zapping them, so they're young and old and young, and normal, and of course Trixie is like dumbfounded. And then she changes Rainbow Dash into Rainbow Dash, or she duplicates Rainbow Dash. So it's a duplication spell. So I guess I'm not sure if this makes it duplication spells canon, because she's conning her, and it sounds like Trixie's never heard of that before, so I don't know. And in the background you see Lyra and Bon Bon just kind of hanging, just to fill up a corner of the screen instead of having nothing, and Lyra's just slurping on a hay shake, and she sets it a pony who can play 10 instruments at once, and it's Pinky, and she comes in from the left and right and above, and so you get a very interesting view of Trixie from like she's squished at the bottom of the screen. A very interesting head view. I'm always a fan of like large varied expressions and different interesting angles and stuff, because it really shakes things up. And then Twilight says she's going to change a mare into a stallion, and Applejack is scared and tries to run, but nope, she changes Applejack into a stallion, which now Rule 63 spells are now canon. So all those fan fictions have been validated, and it's like, oh boy. I mean, did they? I couldn't believe they actually did that. I mean, I guess they didn't realize like the floodgates for that type of fiction and stuff would open, because now people have done the R63 spells and stuff before because magic. That's why it doesn't need any explanation, because magic. But now it's canon, and so it's going to be even more. And of course Trixie can't believe it because she's lost, so she switches medallions, or amulets I should say. And because Trixie's the only one who can remove the alicorn amulet, and so her evil magic goes away, and so now she's back to her regular magic. Rainbow Dash gets the real amulet away, and of course the amulet she has on now is just one of Zecora's doorstops. And so it turns out that she didn't actually do any of those tricks, though the magic, the age spells. They just had Sweetie Belle and Apple Bloom disguised as Rarity and Applejack as little foals, and they painted Big Mac to look like Applejack and Granny Smith to look like Applejack, so we had 4 Applejacks. She kind of backs away and everyone's happy and the sky's clear. Now Ponyville is back to normal. And so in the next scene, now people say this part felt a bit rushed. I'm going to have to agree with them. They're having a show, and the delegates from Saddle Arabia are there with Princess Celestia, and they bring up a good point that they wouldn't make animation puppets like that for just this 10-second scene, because that's a lot of work for just a little bit for such a small scene. And Twilight is using the animals and flying them through the air for entertainment, and all the animals are having fun and stuff. And these Saddle Arabia horses are pretty cool, though. And they're horses, they're not ponies. They're not as big as Celestia, they're a little smaller, but they're bigger than an average mare and stallion. One of them's a mare and one of them's a stallion, though, so we can see the differences. But they are definitely horses. And they're dressed up in some interesting Arabian gear, and it's pretty cool. Actually, the Saddle Arabian mare her color scheme and the jewels and stuff look a lot like that poster for the Sierra Madre Casino from Fallout 3, but I think it was Pixel Kitties who did it. It was Rarity dressed up and in a gown and stuff, and it looks like the gown she wore in the Sierra Madre poster, if I remember right. And Fluttershy is watching, and she's like, and she's all scared and stuff, and Spike is comforting her, and Trixie adds some fireworks. And she apologizes, and this part could have been done a little better. Now Trixie is back to normal. If they had just elaborated a little, if she had said she had completely lost control of herself, but she had turned a little, so she asks for forgiveness, and Twilight thinks about it for a minute, but of course forgives her. And Trixie's like, "Don't you think the great and apologetic Trixie is the greatest ever?" And so she does her disappearing act and runs away, but Trixie trips as she runs away. And then, just at the end, as it goes to black, Pinkie breaks the fourth wall again. Just before the screen is completely black, Pinkie squeezes through and points to her missing mouth. Twilight pops in via magic and fixes her mouth. Then Pinkie takes a deep breath as if to say a lot, and suddenly, theme song. So this episode was really good. However, they could have done some things a little better. Overall, as I said, the facial expressions were amazing. Some of the dialogue between Trixie and Twilight was so great. The voice actresses did an amazing job as usual, and the whole thing was really good. They could have done some things maybe there were 2 problems. First of all, a lot of people thought this could have been working in King Sombra and his evil magic, possibly taking control of Trixie, which that didn't happen. And that's okay. So long as we get one episode in the middle that deals with any backplot, I'm fine. Subplot. But maybe at the end, if they had just added, felt a little rushed. Maybe if they had added something like just a line or 2, like Trixie saying how once she had the amulet, her rage consumed her completely, and she was barely in control. And maybe if she had said that she was going to get better and be back and challenge her to a proper duel or something, become one of those friendly rivals, like Knuckles the Echidna from Sonic the Hedgehog, or Naga the White Serpent from Slayers. You know, one of those type of rivals. Because that could be really interesting. And I see that happening now in fan fiction and stuff. In fact, I might even write something like that, where, you know, Trixie becomes the friendly rival, which would really add a lot more. The friendly rival angle would be a really good direction to go with Trixie. But, you know, just one extra line, and that could have opened up a whole lot more story there. But they didn't, sadly, so we'll see. They could still do something with that, but we'll find out. So, So it was interesting, again, with this, now Saddle Arabia is canon, and the Saddle Arabia horses, they looked like Arabian horses and stuff, of course. So it was really, really good. Again, there was no backstory. We got some canon stuff, like the Rule 63 spells and age spells and stuff, which a lot of people will, I'm sure, work with. So there was something else I wanted to say, but I can't remember now. But anyway, this episode was really, really good. One of the better ones for this season so far. It'd have to be my second favorite. I like the Bab Seed episode a lot. And Magic Duel is... Well, Bab Seed episode became my top favorite episode of all of them. And now Magic Duel is running a close second. So this season just keeps getting better and better. So we'll see what happens next time. I'm not going to do a podcast next week, though. I think it's better if I relegate it to bi-weekly. It helps more. I'm trying to get better, organize show notes and stuff, and fix the format. I'm still not completely, really good at that yet. But I'll get there. No podcast starts out perfect anyways. And I'll continue this podcast always in one form or another. That's where that opening segment I did comes into play. You hear a bit of anime music, a bit of game music, and some pony music, because while this is basically a pony podcast, during the summer, especially when there's no new episodes, last summer we saw the fandom really stretched and not much happened at all. There were conventions, but there wasn't a lot of news, or a lot of discussion topics, because we didn't have new episodes to discuss. So there wasn't much, so I'm prepared to talk about video games and anime when there aren't a lot of stuff to discuss. And I did that once, actually, last summer. I talked about the Sonic the Hedgehog series, my old fandom. So that's why I did that. And someday, if the pony fandom died down to a point where all the pony podcasts just stopped and stuff, this podcast could still survive in another format. I could still go on to talk about anime and games while still having a section devoted to pony. Because I don't ever plan on stopping this and starting a separate anime podcast or comic podcast or something. It would always be the Laspegacast. No matter the subject material would always be in the whole nerd geek fandom, role play, comics, games, cartoons, all that stuff, conventions. But I would never want to stop and start another podcast. I'd have to start from episode 0 again. I'd prefer to just keep this going and this be my good one. So this podcast should get better. So I'll see you sometime later December or something, or whenever I get around to doing the next episode. So if you want to send mail in, send it to the laspegacast@gmail.com. If you'd like to be on the show, just send me some mail over there, and you can be on the show for free and everything. You don't get paid, and you don't have to pay, so it's good. And yeah, it's basically it. This has been Okami the Wolf 1, and this is the Laspegacast. Good night, every pony.